Hello and welcome to Season 3 of the Pokepal Draft League. Even though my Season 2 coverage was not perfect, expect Season 3s to be a lot better as I am also helping run one of the divisions. So I'm doing a lot more behind the scenes, and I definitely want to make sure I do actually record all of my matches, which was my issue last season, is I just forgot to record. Um, but yeah, I'm just gonna get going. Gonna talk about my draft and then do a quick tier list of what I think roughly other people's drafts are. Just kind of a for fun one, not super serious. Also, I didn't even make playoffs in season 2, so I'm far from an expert in draft league, but this will definitely be fun. So to start, here is my team. It is we're playing an MB of champions. As we can see, I forget I was third pick. No, I was fourth pick, but I still got King Gambit as my fourth pick or as my first pick, but as fourth in the draft. I was very happy with it. I I think I did draft decently around it. I think I kind of got stuck on like a Pyroar with Sun thing, but we'll get there. King Gambit, I think obviously just phenomenal in champions right now in general. Whether you're doing more standard Focus Sash, Chople Berry with speed, or you're going to do a Black Glasses with Swords Dance slower. But I think in draft, like, you can do a little bit more with it, give it some more creative items, run Supreme Overlord if they don't have like Intimidate or something. And then obviously just its insane base power. So I'm very happy with that as my first pick. Sableye, again, just a Pokemon I don't need to explain too much for what it does in Champions, but I think it is even better, arguably, in Draft League because you don't really get to know what it does in Closed Team Sheet. You have to figure it out as it's happening. So it has Fake Out, has Screens, has Speed Control and Thunder Wave, or Quash even, has Will-O-Wisp, has Foul Play, and more things. It kind of has almost any status move you can think of, Encore and Disable. So that's just gonna be a fun one to play around with. And then this doesn't say it because it breaks this draft helper. It's not updated for Champions Megas, but this is a Mega Pyroar actually, not a base Pyroar. I did not draft base Pyroar third, and definitely not for 13 points. This is a Mega Pyroar. I felt like it's good. I'm a Mega Pyroar believer. Obviously, I ended up drafting some Sun with it later because the multiplicative scaling of its Fire Main plus Sun plus potential Helping Hand, like, yes, Charizard Y sets Drought for itself. I don't think it was even open at this point in the draft, but Mega Pyroar's multiplicative scaling can go crazy. And then third pick, I went pretty budget, but this is where, like, yes, Sableye's immune to fighting, but I felt like King Gambit and Pyroar meant I was drafting a pretty obvious fighting weakness, and Ariados is a Rage Powder user that that resists fighting, and I just wanted to make sure I could pick up a redirector at some point, and yeah, it just seemed pretty good. Somebody else in the chat, I forget who offhand, definitely said that they would have snagged that like the next round if I hadn't picked it up. So even though I ended up being pretty light with my budget early, it also, as we can see later, it gave me some room to be flexible as draft kept going on. And then fifth pick, Quaquaval. For 7 points, I just really like this guy. I've brought this to one tournament just in MA regularly. It does struggle in base champions in that you can just run Basculegion as a physical water type, and so it kind of pushes out a lot of other physical water types from being relevant. But I think its base stats for champions, its access to Moxie is really nice. Its signature move, Aqua Step, is pretty good. Gets close combat, obviously. And I think it can be slightly more flexible, but not trying to reveal all my secrets here. Next up, we got Cofagrigus. Honestly, even looking through this, one of my more like interesting. I'm not 100% sure what I'm gonna end up doing with this pick at this moment, but I was kind of angling for some like ability to press Trick Room with a King Gambit. Obviously, I ended up with a Ninetales, not a Torkoal, for like a true like Sunroom mode. But Gopher Grease is just decent. It has like decent bulk. Mummy's an interesting ability. It gets some more supportive moves like Will-O-Wisp. So we'll definitely see what I end up doing with this. I was kind of maintaining like a Ghost Trick Room setter for cheap points, letting me be flexible later. And then Ninetales obviously synergizes really well with this Pyroar. Sets Drought, has Helping Hand. I think it has some more flexibility still in like Choice Scarf versus Focus Sash versus Heat Rock versus a Resist Berry maybe versus Life Orb maybe, because it has decent speed. So I'm overall happy with it. We'll definitely see how it ends up feeling when I start building. But yeah, kind of is how it is. And this again is a Mega. I did not draft no Megas in a champion format. This is Mega Dragonite. But I'm really, really happy with this because I think I was leaning very physical. Actually, what am I even talking about? I do have two special Megas. The more real thing is that it can be base Dragonite or Mega Dragonite. So I think there are weeks I can bring both Mega Pyroar, planning to Mega it, and Mega Dragonite, not planning to Mega it with like a Tailwind. And obviously, I am allowed to do Mega Dragonite. It has, obviously Hurricane, but even like Air Slash if I'm not going to have Rain, because I don't particularly have Rain unless I want to use Sableye. Thunderbolt, Dragon Pulse, Ice Beam, plenty of other coverage. On the physical side, obviously, like Extreme Speed, Outrage, Stomping Tantrum. So I think it's just really, really flexible, which is something I was trying to value. And I had a lot of points to use at the end of it. Although, these I technically did in free trade, but I don't remember even what I drafted for them offhand, so I'm not going to worry about it. And then Rotom Frost and Dragonite, I suppose we're also patching up a ground weakness. Because I had 1, 2, 3, and I think I had one more in the 4. Oh, it was Mega Venusaur and Luxray. So I don't have an Intimidate user anymore, but this is an electric type for it. I don't have Fire, Water, Grass, but I'm not extremely worried about it. I think Dragonite still gives me more coverage than like a Mega Venusaur did, and a more interesting way to play the game. Gives me Tailwind, which I didn't have. And Rotom Frost, not the ideal Rotom form I could have picked up here, because Blizzard is like pretty weird without a way to set my own snow. But it's still a Rotom, which still has like Willow, Trick, Electro Web, Thunderbolt, Volt Switch. I can still press Blizzard and just like hope. And like I said, it helped patch up a pretty glaring ground weakness I had when this was a Luxray. So I'm still overall pretty happy with it. This, I would say, is probably the slot, maybe even over Cofagrigus, that as we get into the season might end up changing around. But overall, I would say I am pretty happy with this draft. I got a couple pretty obviously strong pieces here. But even Quaquaval is like a nice. Ninetales like 5th. These guys are like big secondary damage. These guys can be big primary damage. Phenomenal support in Sableye, Ariados, and even Cofagrigus. Like I'd say for the point totals I spent, I'm pretty happy with the support these guys offer. So yeah, I think I have a decent amount of options. I'm pretty happy with this. Now, gonna hop over to this draft. Oh no, this is the wrong one. We're gonna go to Season A first. Season A is the one I am a part of. And we are going to start with our first pick of the draft, Notecade, who unsurprisingly, well, we'll get to Division Z in a second. I would say unsurprisingly, Mega Floette went first in Division A. It did not go first in Division Z. And not second, and not third, and not fourth, but like I said, we will get there. Floette with a Rain team, Politoed, Archaludon, Vivillon, Liepard, Mega Swampert, Reuniclus, Ampharos, Banette. I like that team a lot, to be honest. I'd say it almost has like a Trick Room mode with like Reuniclus, Ampharos, Banette, but it's base Ampharos, not Mega Ampharos, and base Banette, not Mega Banette. They're like they're they're kind of sus, but they didn't have a lot of points to work with at the end of the draft. I like the Reuniclus a lot. I think if you're able to counter Rain, seems maybe a little one-dimensional, but the pieces that are there are just incredibly strong, and countering Rain is potentially easier said than done. I think there's no way this goes below great. It might make its way up to amazing as I keep drafting. Next is Little Potato, these Pittsburgh Pelipers, and I should say that is Saskatchewan Sunflower. Our Pittsburgh Pelipers, Mega Gengar, Komodo, Mega Aggron, Tinkaton, Oranguru, Torkoal, Lopunny, Alolan Raichu, Revenant, and Conkeldurr. Now that is a team with a very proper fast mode in Mega Gengar. Komodo can set up. I still call Lopunny and Alolan Raichu part of fast mode. Tinkaton maybe. They don't have Tailwind, so it's not like a Tail Room team. But if you're just going to try to counter their Trick Room team, I could see Mega Gengar Komodo rocking your world. And then Torkoal, Lopunny as like a fake out Pokemon. Trevenant as a Trick Room setter. Oranguru is a Trick Room setter. Oranguru with Instruct. Mega Aggron is really slow. Conkeldurr is really slow. I think they have a great Trick Room team. I'll be so bold and just throw them an amazing start. Some Bird Gal with our Ballenleia bundles. Mega Delphox, Clefable, Serena, Empoleon, Espathra, Hisuian Zoroark, Toxicroak, Morpeko, Garganacl, and Mega Altaria. They kind of have it all. Redirector and Clefable, priority blocking Serena, competitive on Empoleon, although they don't have like a strong physical attacker to like really bait intimidates out of. Like Toxicroak is really their best and kind of Serena, but they're like so. Espathra, I'm a huge fan of. I'm a Espathra professor in MA. Garganacl's pretty interesting. Mega Altaria. I'll put it in great because I don't think their pieces are like I'm not seeing any like particularly just broken mode, but I think it's pretty solid around the board. Now I'm next as our fourth pick. We've been through my draft enough. I'm not so ego driven to just put myself in amazing. I'll throw it in a nice great. I think there's some pieces that are kind of just my own personal play style, but I think it's cohesive enough. I mean, I think I would have made more free agency trades if I thought it was anything below great. Lego with our New York Steals. Got Sneasler, Talonflame, Rotom Wash, Crocodile, Aegislash, Scovillain, Base Scovillain, Aromatisse, Mega Electros, Tyrantrum, and Garbodor. Now, Sneasler, Talonflame, Rotom Wash, Crocodile, Aegislash, Mega Electros, Scovillain. I think they don't quite break into like super obviously broken, like a Floette Mega, Gengar Mega, Komodo, rain stuff on Notecade. But I think that's a pretty phenomenal draft still. Like a lot of pieces that just like yes, they have some obvious synergy, but it's not like you're just gonna stop Earthquake spam unless you have like a wide guard user or more like levitate flying types yourself. Even if you do, he has answers like Sneasler, Talonflame, just so flexible. Like they have their very obvious sets that they would run on ladder, but they also have a very deep move pool, which I think is very important for draft. And like I don't know. I'm almost worried I'm not gonna put anything down in good. I think, and I haven't even really so much talked about. I didn't want to be super rude. I don't even think anybody's draft is that bad. Potential is where I was gonna put like I don't truly see the idea. I don't want to say don't see the idea. But I don't think anybody has a horrible draft, genuinely. But I think just so. I think I don't know. I think I'll describe potential more if/when we ever get there. John Dash in my first week, who also is still team name TBD with no icon. Um, Mega Metagross, Garchomp, Aerodactyl, Sylveon, and then it turns into slightly more Ice Soup, but like those are terrifying for Blaziken. Not really Ice Soup still. Mega Audino, I think in draft is like pretty respectable, just because it's bulky, and I think if you don't prep for it, it can unexpectedly run through a game. Maybe not run through. It doesn't really have the capability to do that, but it can disrupt your plans enough that Garchomp, Aerodactyl, Sylveon, Blaziken, Grafty are more than capable of doing enough damage themselves without running his Mega Metagross. Bellibolt and Rotom Fan round that out. Rotom Fan, most questionable of all the Rotom forms, but I have Frost in a team without Ice, without Hail. So, I think the Rotoms are just all pretty good. Bellibolt, I do like it a lot. I don't see how it is like particularly amazing on this team, especially since he also ended up with a Rotom Fan. But again, like as is like maybe worst Pokemon, it's still pretty damn good. We're gonna throw that up in the odd eggs, Ditto 0627, Mega T-Tar, Sinistra, Mega Scizor, Mega Metacham, Kangaskhan, not regular, Unova Zoroark, Runerigus, Diggersby, Electros, and Arbok. I really like his first three, and then I don't quite see the full vision past that. But there are still like Trick Room options with Runerigus, Diggersby, and even Arbok. Even like Mega T-Tar and Mega Scizor, decent in Trick Room. Mega Metacham, I think he just spent a little bit more than he needed to on a third Mega. Like base Metacham is fine, but it's like much, much lower from my memory. I think this might be our first good, but again, like I truly don't dislike this draft at all. Like its first three pieces are terrifying. Runerigus is decent support, just like my Rodriguez, but more physical. Diggersby, I think, is a pretty solid ground type for its cost. It's only 3 points. Kangaskhan is pretty good. Yeah, like again, like it will be my first good, but I have no like major glaring issues. Now, Iljon, our season 1 champion and season 2 runner up, his creativity is terrifying, and getting the Whimsicott and then getting Annihilate second, like yes, there's just like Tailwind, Encore, Sunny Day, Fake Tear, like whatever Whimsicott wants to do. Whimsicott's a phenomenal draft pick, same as Sableye, but more. But then Annihilate, again, like Annihilate itself can do like bulk up, Drain Punch stuff, Rage Fist, whatever, or it can be Scarfed. But now he is beat up with the Rage Fist, and that is not to be slept on. Mega Skarmory, Mega Gyarados, which is a Pokemon he will just use in normal tournaments. Rotom Heat, Torterra, which I think was kind of slept on. Wide Guard, Iron Defense, Body Press. I don't know how much it does besides those things, but I think it's pretty decent for its cost. Mr. Rhyme, which I truly don't know like anything about that Pokemon, but it gives Psychic and Ice coverage, which I definitely respect. Base Dragalge, which with adaptability and Life Orb can start hitting really hard. I wouldn't be surprised if Mr. Rhyme has like Trick Room to potentially set up that Dragalge, or if you just invest in enough bulk, it's fine. Or Whimsicott can just run Trick Room, like that thing's crazy. Aurorus, which I don't think is phenomenal, but does give him weather options in front of opposing like rain and sun teams in particular. And base Audino, which again, I don't really know how much that does, but they only had 1 point left at the end. I'm gonna put it in great, but because Iljon is piloting it, I'm like terrified still. Also, as we're gonna go through, I'm gonna just put this up in amazing. I'm being a little hesitant and just putting everything in amazing, but I'm also being hesitant putting things into good. And again, like I think Iljon will make that team much more than the sum of its parts. Like, he's just such a phenomenal builder. But I still don't want to put his team directly into amazing. Now we got Sans Dave, Sans Dive, I don't know, the Paldean Dancer. This is a pretty hard trick room team, but I think they still have enough options in their hard trick room that it's pretty interesting. I do like this a lot. Farigiraf, Incineroar, just great off the bat. Rhyperior, their third pickup. Mega Chimecho with, Levitate, and for only 6 points as like a good trick room sweeper, I respected it a lot. Azumarill, again, for 7 points. Belly Drum, pretty slow itself if it doesn't want to do like Belly Drum Aqua Jet stuff. Doesn't need Belly Drum per se, but it's definitely an option. Hisuian Decidueye, Mega Camerupt, probably the best trick room sweeper he has. Mega Scrafty, we do have Triple Mega, which I don't know if I am always in love with, but it does give you a lot of options in draft, and I think Mega Scrafty is the one of his I could see coming, but not needing to Mega Evolve, as Base Scrafty and Fake Out is still fine, although he does still have Incineroar, but then you can cycle them. Base Gardevoir and Stunfisk. So I think Base Gardevoir is a great and kind of Hisuian Decidueye. Give him some speedier options, so it doesn't need hard trick room per se. Maybe a hard trick room with like a Scarf Pokemon or two, or not two Scarf, but Scarf Pokemon, Sash Pokemon can function outside of the trick room. Stunfisk, I think again, he just had 2 points at the end of draft. It's kind of so. I'll put in great, which I would not have expected for a team that looks pretty hard trick room focused. But I was impressed with the overall conception. And then we are to Pechapild, Pro, Mega Charizard Y, fell all the way to 10th pick, first round. Then they got Venusaur on the wraparound. Gallade is a Pokemon that I think is just really, really good in general. Mega Sableye, which also, gives you base Sableye. You don't want to mess with it. Heliolisk, which has just phenomenal weather-based ability, so actually can pair pretty well with Mega Charizard. Slowbro gives a water type and some trick room options. Toucannon, Alchemy, Base Aggron, and then a Dragapult. I think it isn't as obviously strong after the first two, but it is still just a Mega Charizard Y Venusaur that you need to deal with. With the whole Pokedex available, there isn't that consistent of a way to just beat Mega Charizard Y Venusaur and account for the things in the back. So like that is threatening enough. Dragapult gives way more speed. Gallade hits like a truck. Heliolisk can hit like a truck and Sun with solar power. That's some decent support, and Mega Sableye can be base Sableye as well. Mega Sableye also could be interesting at times. Toucannon, I think, is like decent as like Tailwind Setter. Beak Blast is interesting. Slowbro is pretty interesting. I think again, I'm just gonna. I feel weird about like everything just going in great, but this is truly how I feel. And I also feel bad about Ditto being alone good. But again, like they have extremely threatening pieces. I don't think they're to be estimated. And then finally, Conrad, Marini Meanies, Basculegion Pelipper. Again, phenomenal pairing. Melodic Raichu. The Raichu I think is really good lightning rod for the water type. Mega Beedrill, Rotom Mow, Swampert, Earthworm, Toxapex. So this is actually one I think fell off a little bit after the first two. I could maybe say 4. I'm not in love with Mega Beedrill as their only Mega. I think they don't have like priority stopping. I think that, especially when I'm looking at my team, but that guy just gets sucker punched Oblivion, but any priority in general. And then I'm not in love with 3 water types. Like, because I just don't, or 5 water types. Half their draft are water. Basculegion, Pelipper, Melodic, Swampert, and Toxapex. So yes, you have the Lightning Rod, and yes, Swampert's immune to Electric. But I think you're still not like offensively covering enough, in my opinion. Earthworm, a decent Pokemon, but when base Swampert is your best like Earthquake user, like you don't have a lot of synergy with it. So they still have Basculegion and Pelipper. That's like the same way I was kind of feeling about David Crow, where they still have Mega Y Venusaur. So even if I don't necessarily perfectly see the vision of the draft, like they have enough just really, really strong pieces that I think it still just has to go in good. So I actually do have to take a break, and I'll do this Division Z in a little bit. But genuinely, I think everybody drafted pretty damn well. Even the 2 in good, like they are not to be underestimated. They will pick up several wins, if not make playoffs themselves. Like this is not locked in stone, and they can continue to make some changes. Overall, I think everybody in Division A drafted very, very well. I was very impressed at the end of this. Alrighty. Alrighty. Yeah, back just a little bit later, finishing up this tier list for Division Z. So, first pick was the main Mon with, and this is a very interesting one. They very specifically, even though they had first pick, did not draft anything over 15 points. So, their first pick was actually Mega Feraligatr. So again, not the Floette that went first in Division A. Followed by Mega Glamora, Klefki, Skeledirge, Kangaskhan, Staraptor, Base Govalin, Mega Scolipede, Base Manectric, and Bastiodon. So I really don't hate it. I need to see if Staraptor learns Tailwind Act. I feel like it kind of must. I feel like it must. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Just because it is lacking like something extremely broken doesn't inherently mean it's bad. Mega Glamora is definitely the thing on his team that will the hardest. Mega Feraligatr is really not horrid. Skeletor is pretty good. Kangaskhan pretty good. Raptor's pretty good. Govalin pretty good. Manectric is functional. Bastiodon is pretty decent. Like I don't hate the team, but it really is lacking anything like broken. And so I'm really torn. I'm really torn between just like great and good. I'm just gonna put it in good. I really think you should have a bigger cornerstone piece to your team. Something like really just irreplaceable, like almost disgustingly broken. And truthfully, I think for as much as I don't think their weakest link is very weak at all, like I think they have 10 pretty good Pokemon that all could come to any match. I also don't see the linchpin of, but just like I was talking about with Division A, truthfully, being in good does not mean I think you have a bad draft. Even being in potential doesn't mean I think you have a bad draft. I was really impressed overall with the drafting, but I'm gonna leave them in good. Now we have North second, with Mega Metagross, Grimmsnarl, Rotom Wash, Mega Blaziken, Gofagrigus, Mamoswine, Hydreigon, Espathra, and Dedenne. Now that's a draft that's kind of a banger. Mega Metagross, Grimmsnarl, pretty nice. That Blaziken can come as base Blaziken for like coaching stuff. Obviously, we'll lack like a Sash or whatever other berry, Life Orb, anything. It could come next to the Metagross, or it could come in lieu of the Metagross, I should say. But Mega Metagross is just so nice. Mamoswine, I think, is kind of really, really nice. That was one in hindsight I feel like might have been higher, but it was such a pain tiering all these Pokemon, to be honest, because we didn't have the not fully evolves that we have for the other draft leagues. Hydreigon, Espathra, Rotom, the Dene is like really, really good special coverage to pair with the Metagross. Grimmsnarl screens, a Lost Thunderwave, but it still has Trick. It still just has a pretty reasonable attack stat, even if it wants to invest more in that with like Spirit Break. Although it lost its Dark move, didn't it? But anyway, I've just been biding some time, bidding that amazing versus great tier. I'm gonna put them in great for now, but if amazing ends up pretty barren, they might move up. I do like their draft a lot. Now, Brentai, straight up, I think. I was going to say might have the best draft of either. But looking at it, I don't know if that's so objective. I think they have a very strong draft. Mega Gengar, Archaludon, Politoed, Jolteon, Ariados, Toxicroak. Aromatisse is like the only question mark I have so far, but I know it does. It has Unburden for one, but we don't have like seeds to like easily trigger that. Mega Swampert, Beartic, and Decidueye. Beartic, I think, was actually a sleeper Swift Swim user for a rain team for 2 points. That gives extra coverage. I think what I'm noticing is if the opponent has like a manual sunny day anywhere, it might be hard to actually keep this rain up. But you just have Mega Gengar as well to make it hard for them to like switch in something with sunny day. I don't know. I really, really like Brentai's team. Ferndale Freeze with Ultra also is the one that hasn't given it an icon. But I'm still just going to throw this in amazing. I like their draft a lot. Now, next up, our Grand Rapid Golducks, Trebebe. Very similar vibe as Iljon, which is that they're absolute chefs in the kitchen. They come up with some crazy teams and they function, but I wouldn't use them myself. That being said, I think I see even more threat from Trey's team outright, which is Clefable first pick, which again, like Division Z did not pick Floette first, second, third, fourth. And in fact, we get a lot of 12, 14. I see a 15 coming up point Pokemon as our first pick, which really surprised me. It was very different than what Division A ended up doing. But I can also understand taking one of the valuable Follow Me users. But Trey has Clefable, Dragonite, Mega Scrafty, Mimikyu, Rotom Heat, Base Swampert, Mega Chimecho, Base Sceptile, Base Dragalge. So I see some very functional both. I mean, your Dragonite would have to be the Tailwind setter, but you have fast mode. Sceptile's fast, Dragonite's fast, Clefable as Follow Me is just nice. Mimikyu and Rotom Heat can really, depending on how you train them, really function Tailwind or Trick Room depending on opposing teams. Mega Chimecho and Mimikyu are great Tailwind setters. Crafty Fake Out user, Clefable Follow Me. Dragalge slow. Mega Chimecho obviously slow. Yeah, I think honestly it's like Mimikyu, Rotom Heat, Swampert could all be either way. Scrafty, Mega Scrafty's pretty slow. So a lot of flexibility. Dragonite, Mega Scrafty, Rotom Heat, Dragalge, and a Mega Chimecho, things that hit pretty hard. But then even their support, like Mimikyu, Swampert, Sceptile, hit reasonably hard. So I don't think I'm obsessed with it, and that again kind of has the same issue, but it's kind of a fake issue. So I don't mean to overly harp on. They don't have anything above 16 points. They don't have anything like so obviously broken that might even work to their favor. To be, they don't have like the one thing to counter that then makes the enemy team or their team in this instance a lot weaker if you just have a good answer into it. So I definitely like their draft. I'm kind of referring to Trey and these Doom Dark Desires. I do like them a lot, even though they don't have something so obviously broken first pick. Next, we have Seeking with Sableye. This is this other 15-point pick that we got first. Volcarona, Mega Phalanx, Gyarados, Rotom Mow, Earthworm, Mega Excadrill, Aurorus, and S. Now, again, while theoretically lacking anything so obviously broken, Mega Excadrill is kind of at a weird speed here, and the fact that it has whatever its Unseen Fist ability is, instead of like a Sand Rush, does not help its speed tier. But Volcarona gets Tailwind, Sableye gets some speed control, and Thunder Wave and Quash. Gyarados can set up Dragon Dances, Rotom Mow can be Scarf Electro Web. Otherwise, does he have something that can set Trick Room? Maybe Espeon can, but Espeon's also really fast. But then also just has a lot of bulk between Pokemon, like Volcarona, Mega Phalanx, Gyarados, Earthworm, and then like with an Intimidate, helping it out. Mega Excadrill and Mega Phalanx can be reasonable. Sableye with Screen. So I'm a pretty big fan of the team overall. I think I'm just gonna toss this in great. Next is Mr. Pokepal himself, Parker. Got that Mega Delphox first, Sinistra, Meowstic, female, Prankster, Crocodile, Bellybolt, Incineroar pretty late, Mega Gyarados, Pinsir, and Toucannon. Although, if memory serves, Parker is doing too many things at once when draft was actually occurring, and so actually blew all his points in the first 8 and had to do a lot in free agency. With that being said, I still like how this draft turned out overall. Yeah, I'm. It's kind of balanced. It's kind of a balanced team. Pinsir and to a lesser extent Toucannon and kind of Bellybolt. Like feel like they'll put in some work, but I think like Incin, Mega Gyarados, Sinistra, Crocodile, even Meowstic, and then especially Mega Delphox can put in enough work that I think it's still a pretty great team overall. Again, honestly, just gonna toss this in great. Now we have Ditto, Ditto Dodge It with Mousehold, a Mega Staraptor, Fridgeraff. Honestly, is like a pretty nice 3. Burnt a lot of points early, but not a bad team to have built around. I think my one concern with Mega Staraptor in draft that it doesn't have a lot of coverage. It's kind of like, okay, post combat, Brave Bird, probably Protect, and it's like between like Roost and Tailwind and like maybe Blaze Kick. It just doesn't get like a ton. But still continues to round this team out with Azumarill, Ditto as the namesake. Salazzle, which I think is a really nice Pokemon. It's not extremely dissimilar to a Sneasler. Obviously, it doesn't have like the Invertin, and it is just a hair slower, so it can't beat Sneasler with Fake Out. It's a Fake Out poison type that could deal fast, strong poison, in Salazzle's case, fire damage. Alolan Ninetales, Mudstill, Mega Audino, which I talked about in Division A, that I think is actually pretty decent point total. And then Base Zoroark, which I don't think is as good as Hisuian, but it still opens up a lot of mind games. And I have no major issues. I would just be slightly concerned that like Mousehold, Fridgeraff, Salazzle, Ninetales as like kind of your supporting pieces. Maybe Mega Audino would help with this issue. But I don't think this team has great answers to the opponent just leading like super hyper offensive and trying to blow this Mega Staraptor and rest of the teammates off the board before they really start to get set up. Like Zoomer would kind of like a Belly Drum. Ninetales would kind of like to set Aurora Veil if the goal is to keep other things alive. Mudstill kind of likes to get stamina boost going. So I'm kind of seeing a little bit lack of immediate offense. Like Salazzle and even Ninetales, and I mean Staraptor Mega, more offensive, are like your biggest pieces of burst damage. And save for like Ninetales Blizzards, you don't have like burst damage, and Ninetales, I don't think crests 100. Memory serves. Yeah, 81. So I really don't hate it. I feel like they're lacking some burst damage, which could prove to be an issue. Maybe, maybe not. Again, truly, but being put in good does not mean I think you have a bad draft, and I very well could be proven wrong and they make playoffs and other people not. But that's my 2 cents on Ditto's draft. Next is this Daggers Pop, Dashing Pikachu. Again, with this Mega Charizard Y Venusaur Heliolisk combination that I think can be pretty threatening. Gigaton, I think, is really nice. Moldbreaker Fake Out is nice, although there's only one Fridgeraff, one Serena. It's still just Steel Fairy typing, which is one of the best typings in the game. A base Starmie, Gliscor, Sylveon. I think Sylveon getting on like a Charizard Y Venusaur team so pretty disgusting. Pikachu, Mega Aggron, and Absol. So it almost feels like it could end up being 2, but like not even. I was gonna say like 2 one-dimensional thing, like your Sun mode. Mega Aggron supported with enough Fake Out could be really interesting into teams. Starmie and Gliscor don't see a lot of usage, but I think they each have various items they could hold, help patch up their weaknesses for specific matchups, and then can provide a lot of utility. Pikachu, I drafted it in Season 2. This is a much different metagame, so I think it can get some more use. I theoretically have hope in Pikachu, and it is just their mascot as well, I'm realizing. But I'm not 100% sold on it when they already have Heliolisk and like Tinkaton for Fake Out. And at base Absol, I don't even know what that guy does offhand. My 2 cents would maybe be drop the Pikachu and Absol for a better 7 cost. But overall, I think they do still have a great. I'm saying all that only to continue to put them in. Like, could maybe make its way up to amazing. Like Charizard Y Venusaur, Gliscor. Did I put? Not. No, I kept David Crow. Yeah, but honestly, I do think Tigers Pop. I'd take. I might just toss them in Amaze. I kind of do mess with the draft, even though I have slight issue. Like they have a Sylveon in there still. I like their draft. Clawson Clawitz. Another, again, similar combos drafted in both leagues. Basculegion Pelipper. And then we start to run into the same issue as the other rain team. I don't like that they have 5 water types. Palafin third, goes to Glalie Mega, Base Steelix, Quillfish. Mega Meganium is pretty interesting in rain team. Saw that a lot at the beginning of. Liepard, I think, is a pretty decent prankster Pokemon in draft. Gardevoir is a pretty good Pokemon, and their mascot Clawitz. Now, like Balafin is still a great Pokemon. Quillfish, I think, is still a pretty decent Pokemon for its cost as a user, but it really hurts not having Eviolite to put on that guy. And they don't even have like the Swampert or something. Like they just straight up have 5 electric weak water types on this team. They do have a Steelix and a Meganium as an immunity and resistance. They don't have Lightning Rod. Like I think they just kind of have some too obvious of weaknesses. But the base team is pretty strong. I'm not gonna put it below good. That thing might end up in potential tier, which I kind of thought something would. But like I said, I am genuinely pretty overall impressed with everybody's draft. I'm really not a fan of 5 water types taking up 10 of your Pokemon. This is an issue that both Basculegion and Pelipper team ended up with in the 2 divisions. Veilstone, Valiant, Lycrum. The King Gambit, Garchomp, getting both those is pretty nice. Primarina, Talonflame, not drafting anything but meta in first four. Used a lot of points, but that's a pretty strong core. Talonflame, Garchomp, King Gambit, Primarina, if they can get a Trick Room option, which they did 5th in Trevenant. Araquanid is continued good Trick Room stuff. Might be slightly redundant with the Primarina, but they obviously do pretty different things, being like a spread special attacker, fairy type moves for single target, just water from Araquanid. They have Leech Life, but Water Bubble makes their water moves the most effective. Also a wide guard user, so it can very well be brought outside of Trick Room. But so can Primarina. Like, you can put some speed in that and make it a Tail Room Pokemon. Rotom Frost, Mega Banette, and Furfrou. Now, Rotom Frost, obviously I drafted. I think it has some issues on a team not with Hail, but again, same thing as me, where I think it's just a pretty nice Rotom form in general. You can still just press the Blizzard button, even without the 100% accuracy. And even if you don't want to, like Electro Web, Thunderbolt, potentially Discharge next to this Garchomp, Volt Switch, Will-O-Wisp. I know they get more like weird moves, but even just those, whatever combination, whatever item you need for the matchup in front of you, the Rotom forms are all pretty decent. Mega Banette is pretty nice here, I think, to round out. It is their only Mega. My 2 cents would be maybe drop one of the water types in Furfrou and try to pick up another secondary Mega. But Mega Banette as your solo Mega is one you don't have to bring every time, but is a pretty good addition to the team. And even without a Mega, like I was talking about, their first 4 are incredibly threatening. I think I'm still going to toss this in great. This is a pretty great team. And now, for the last pick of the draft, we finally see that Mega Floette picked up. Which I'm not going to lie, I had a worm in the ear on this one. So I'm going to like this draft a lot. And it's changed just a slight bit since draft. If this tier list had gotten done early. But we got a Mega Floette Whimsicott as first 2, which did blow a lot of the budget as a 2018 point. But Whimsicott is just a phenomenal Pokemon in general, phenomenal in draft for having a lot of flexibility. Even though it's double fairies, having Floette and Whimsicott, you can power up your own Whimsicott's like Moonblast or Dazzling Gleam to actually make it more of a threat. Like, you put a Fairy Feather and have the Fairy Aura next to it, and it's hitting a lot harder than people would expect. So I like this too a lot. Ceruledge next. You know, I think oftentimes we're seeing like Fire and Fairy types paired together on these teams. Charizard Sylveon, Charizard Floette has been one of the most common in the actual meta. But I think Ceruledge is a pretty good Pokemon, especially at the 10-point range. Get Flash Fire for opposing fire types. The Ghost type moves are pretty relevant. It can do like Scar for Life Orb stuff. It can do Setup, Bulk Up, stuff with Bitter Blade. It has Will-O-Wisp as options. I think it has Ally Switch. It has a couple weird things. I like it a lot as a Pokemon. Weavile as a nice Fake Out user. Mega Electros as a secondary Mega that did used to be a Mega Ampharos. Empoleon, Diggersby, Torterra, Lucario, and Rampardos. So the Rampardos without the Trick Room option, I don't value quite as high. But I will say, if you put some speed in it in this current metagame, and enemy team isn't matching Tailwind, it can outpace a lot more things than you might expect. And those Life Orb Sheer Force Rock Slides do hit like a truck. I just love Rampardos as a Pokemon, so I'm not really trying to dock points there. Lucario, I think, has a lot you can do. I don't even want to talk about all of it per se, but I think it pairs really well with a number of Pokemon on this team. Torterra, I talked about in the Division A, Iron Defense Body Press stuff, or just like Woodhammer, Earthquake, Wide Guard stuff. I think are both really nice. Diggersby, huge power, is just a great ability, even though it doesn't have phenomenal base attack stat. It kind of needs huge power. But then for 3 points, it's a pretty respectable Earthquake user. It hits pretty hard. Empoleon helps deter some Intimidate from the Ceruledge and Weavile, which otherwise could make them pretty pretty rough. Also gives some nice water coverage for this team. Lucario now covers steel, but Lucario was a week 1 trade. So we'll see if that Empoleon needs to stick around, but the water typing is still pretty relevant. Mega Electros, it's a lot of coverage. I actually think it's a pretty respectable Pokemon. I kind of overlooked at first. If it gets set up properly and it starts getting those like beast, I'm just gonna call it beast boost to either its attack or special attack, depending on what coverage you need and what you want for the matchup in front of you. I think it can start to take over games. So I'm just gonna throw this up in great. Yeah, I'm not gonna be overly biased and put it in, but I think it is a great draft. And these for either division are necessarily going to be tiered throughout the tier, but generally, again, I think I was overall impressed with everybody's draft. Obviously, I suppose I put one more in Division Z down in good versus Division A, but again, all these good drafts, I think are without any changes, very well could pick up 4, if not 5 wins, and like scrape way to playoffs at a minimum. So I'm very excited to see how the season ends up going as a whole. I should also say real quick, I will have actually both my week 1 and week 2 I play in the next 2 days because we delayed our week 1 since that schedule got out pretty late and it was holiday weekend. We'll see when those videos get out. I don't have a ton of time, but I'll probably get week 1 out Friday. So Friday the 10th. Yeah, I'll probably get week 1 out by the 10th. See when week 2 gets out. I don't have a lot of time. We'll see when this gets out. Bye-bye. Hope people are excited for the rest of this league.